Welcome to the Golf Report podcast. I'm joined by Ellie Slama, a professional golfer. Ellie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just played an LPGA pre-qualifying that was in August. Just tell me, do you have any tournaments upcoming, or what have you been doing, golf-wise since playing in, LPGA pre-qualifying about a month ago?
Yeah, I actually haven't had any tournaments since then. I played in my last WAPT the week before Q school
Okay.
pre-qualifying what was. So I haven't had anything since. I've just been practicing a lot, playing. I went home and visited family for a week, which was really nice. And yeah, just getting ready for these next couple weeks before the second stage and getting ready to go to Florida.
Yeah. So you mentioned you play on the WAPT tour. How was it for you, playing the season on the WAPT tour? How did you find out about the WAPT tour? And was this your first season playing the WAPT tour, or how long have you been playing on that tour?
Yeah, this was my first season playing on
Yeah.
the WAPT tour.
Mhm.
I found it through a couple mutual friends that said that they were going to do the same thing. And it's hard when you don't qualify from first stage on to the next because you don't know really what else to do. But the WAPT tour was great. I thought it was very well organized, especially with their new sponsor, the Annika Foundation. I thought they did a really, really good job. And the tournaments were great. They were pretty close together, which was nice. You could drive in between them, and the group of girls out there was awesome.
Yeah, you said most of your tournaments for the WAPT are in Texas or like Louisiana. But
Yeah,
what was it like? I believe they had a tournament like in Illinois. Did you play in that tournament? If so, how was
yeah,
your experience, like going up
I
to Illinois
did.
and playing in that?
Those were awesome. There were two back to back in Illinois. One of them was just us girls, and then the next one was the APT and the WAPT hosting together. And so
Yeah.
that was a really cool experience. I think playing in a tournament where the men were also playing was unique because the pins were set up for their tees and then, like ours as well. And so it was a little bit tougher in my opinion, but it was a cool experience and I got to see some of my friends, so that was fun.
Yeah, I asked about that because Marissa, the media coordinator for the WAT, she
Yeah.
wanted me to go up to the Illinois tournament. I believe that was in June. I might have been busy that weekend. Because I could get both the APT and WFT, because they were playing
Hmm.
together. I could get both players, but I didn't make it to that. So I went to the Kathy Wentworth because it was only like 20 or 30 minutes from Dallas Fort Worth
Nice.
Airport. But that was so cool to go and interview.
Yeah.
Did about 10 interviews, so it was cool. So let's talk about last month in August you played in LPGA pre-qualifying. You advanced to the next stage. Used to be stage two, now they call it the qualifying stage. But
Yeah.
you advanced. You shot 5 under par total. So just overall, first off, how was your experience playing in LPGA pre-qualifying, and what does it mean to you to advance to the next stage?
Yeah, good. My experience was great. I really do love having that tournament be somewhat close to me. I live in San Diego, so it's only
Okay.
a 2-hour drive, which is really convenient and pretty much the only tournament that is convenient to travel to for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. I had my dad caddying for me. It obviously was really, really warm. It was probably 110 to 115 the whole week. So it's a hot week. The course unfortunately was not in great condition because they had had some really, really warm weather previous weeks, but
Mhm.
I played really well. I hit the ball really, really solid. My iron game was good, which was nice because I feel like then I gave myself a good amount of opportunities for birdies, which is really important in qualifying stage or pre-qualifying stage. So yeah, I played well, tried not to let the nerves get to me, which is easier said than done for that tournament specifically. But yeah, I just tried to go out there and play my best golf and it happened. So that was nice.
Yeah, it was great. Your final round obviously was at Mission Hills Dinosaur Course, which ho used to host the ANA. Now it's at Chevron. It's in Houston. But first off, you shot 3 under par on a former major championship course. So just tell me about your 3 under par, final round. What was it like to shoot 3 under par? And then finally, what was it like to play a former major championship course that has a lot of history? in golf?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite courses down there in the desert for sure. I love playing it. I love watching on TV when it used to be there, watching them jump into Poppy's Pond. So it's always really cool, especially when you're coming up the 18th hole and
Mhm.
there's just so much history involved in the golf course. But yeah, I played really well that last day. Again, tried to just go into it with no expectations and play my game that I know I can do. And it went really well. I was actually bogey free, so that was really nice and not super stressful of a final round for me. But yeah, I always love playing Dinosaur and hopefully I won't have to go back for a little while. And but yeah, I do love that course a lot.
Yeah. So now you're going to be playing in the qualifying stage, which is in about 2 3 weeks in Florida at Plantation Golf and Country Club. So just tell me, what have you been doing, to get ready, for this next tournament that's in about 2 and 3 weeks, and what are some of your goals? Obviously, getting all the way to the LPGA is the goal, but what are some goals you have, now that you're in the qualifying second stage, of LPGA Q Series?
Yeah. One of my goals obviously is to get through to the next stage.
Hmm.
I would love to play an entire season on the LPGA or more than that, hopefully. But yeah, the goal is to get all the way through. So ideally, that would be super awesome. But I've just been practicing a lot. I've been writing out some specific practices. I played in this second stage 2 years ago. So I've played both the courses in Florida that we're going to play, the plantation courses. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what I need to work on. I really struggled 2 years ago with the Bermuda rough, and so I've been working on a lot of chipping and just different lies and kind of giving myself all the different possibilities for that, and then just working on my swing and tuning up a few extra things. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a
Yeah.
fun tournament.
And two questions I thought of. First off, you mentioned about the Bermuda Rough. You're from Oregon and now live in San Diego, as you mentioned. So when you go to
Mhm.
Florida or other places in the country, where the courses might be different than Oregon or California, where you're from, do you tend to struggle with new courses, different parts of the country, or can you learn the course pretty well and adapt pretty well?
I feel like I can adapt pretty well now. When I was traveling for junior golf and amateur golf a few years ago, I feel like I did struggle with it just because I had only been used to one or two types of grass ever. And it's a very different, even Pacific Northwest golf versus Southern California golf is really different. But obviously, when you get grain involved in greens and you go to Florida or you go to the Midwest or something, there is just a lot of different styles of golf. So, I think now that I've traveled as much as I have, I've been able to adapt. But yeah, it's definitely really, really difficult in the beginning to learn those different aspects.
Mhm. And then refresh my memory, because I probably know this, but just to refresh my memory, what do you need to do in this next, stage two to at least, earn Epson Tour status?
Yeah, so usually it's about top 45 in ties
Okay.
advances. They haven't announced it yet just because I think
Yep.
they're not sure of how many players are in it yet. But if you and there's no cut except for after the fourth day. So you play 4 days of golf, and then if you finish top 45-ish, then you advance to the third stage, which is in Alabama. And if you're, I think anywhere below that, it just kind of goes down the list of what level Epson status you'll have for the next year. So typically if you're 46th through 90th, you'll have close to full status, and then below that you'll have partial status. So
Okay. So if you're not in like the top 45, you can earn like conditional status for the Epson
hmm
Tour, possibly, or
yep,
just get in, by being a reserve. I know that's a thing.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly,
Okay.
yep.
So just, tell me, you're from Oregon. Tell me about growing up in Oregon, and how you got started playing golf.
Yeah. Oregon is a lovely, lovely state, but it is
Mhm.
very rainy in the winter. And so it was always a little hard to practice in the winter time, and I struggled with that a little bit, but I ended up staying there for college. And I went to Oregon State and I played 5 years of golf there and absolutely loved it. Had a great time, had a really, really awesome team and some good coaches. So that was really fun. But yeah, I grew up playing, my brother and I both played from the age of like 8 and on. So we were practicing every day after school and just loved it. But I was ready to get a little bit more sunshine, so I moved to San Diego after college and have been practicing and training down here since then.
Yeah, I grew up in Arizona, so there's definitely a lot more, sunshine in
Yeah,
California than there is in Oregon.
totally.
So growing up, you had a lot of success. Your bio says you won every league tournament as a sophomore, junior, and senior in high school. So just tell me, about your success in high school and, just tell me about your high school and junior golf experiences, and how were you so good growing up? It says you won every league tournament, so you're probably, pretty good growing up. So just tell me about your junior and high school golf experiences.
Yeah, I absolutely loved my junior golf and high school golf and all of the amateur golf in Oregon. We had a great director, a couple great directors, and got to travel to so many amazing golf courses in Oregon. Like we would be playing week-long tournaments at Bandon Dunes for $60. Like it was ridiculous. It was the best junior program I could have asked for, and just everyone was so awesome and made you really want to keep playing. So that was cool. But yeah, my high school golf was a little bit less competitive, I would say, in my league. But I just knew all the golf courses so well from playing them, playing all of the tournaments around my hometown and everything. And I just played well. And we were playing from the red, so it was kind of fun. It was a shorter distance. And obviously, as you go throughout all of the levels of golf, it gets more and more competitive. But like high school and junior golf were definitely still competitive. It was just a good spot in my game for me. And yeah, it was a fun time.
Nice. So for college, you went to Oregon State. Your parents and your brother also went to Oregon State. So what drew you to Oregon State? Was it the fact that your parents, your brother went to Oregon State, or did you decide to go to Oregon State, on your own? And just generally, how was your experience playing college golf for Oregon State?
Yeah, I went on my first visit to Oregon State when I was in eighth grade. So it definitely had some uh, reason to do with my parents going there. And my brother ended up going there 2 years before me. So that obviously had a little bit of a draw as well. But I just always loved Oregon State. My whole family are Beavers, and we would grow up going to every football game and every basketball game. So it was always really fun to cheer on the Beavers. And I knew that that campus and that community was something that I would fit in really well with. But yeah, I had a great time at Oregon State. My team, we had a pretty small team for the first few years, just six of us. And when you're traveling with five, that's a pretty like tight group of girls. So it was really fun. I had a great experience overall. I would say, yeah, golfing during the pandemic, during like when COVID shut everything down was tough. So I took a fifth year and played one more year, but I had a great time and love Corvallis, love Oregon State. Only
Mhm.
good things.
Yeah, and you live in California now in San Diego, but do you have family still in Oregon? And do you go to Oregon often or not too much these days?
Yeah, I still have all of my family is still in Oregon, actually.
Okay.
My brother's in Portland area, and my parents are still in my hometown, Salem. My grandparents are still in the same places too. So I get up there a few times a year. I was up there last week, visiting family and just seeing everyone. But I would say like usually around Christmas time and maybe once in the summer and then one other time if I can get up there. But yeah, I love Oregon, and especially this time of year, it's so pretty with the trees changing and everything. So,
That's great. So Ellie, two more things I wanted to talk about. You played on the Epson Tour in the 2023 season. It didn't go the way you wanted. You lost your Epson Tour status, after the 23 season. So what did you learn from playing on the Epson Tour, in 2023? And how difficult was it to lose your Epson Tour status, after the 2023 season? Can you just tell me about your experience, playing on the Epson Tour for a season?
yeah. Yeah, so first year qualified through and got partial Epson, and I started about the fifth tournament in. So I
Okay.
actually had pretty decent status for where I was at. But yeah, it was tough. I think the transition from college golf to professional golf is so drastic and not talked about enough. But yeah, you're going from playing and traveling with a team and coaches and sometimes family members to all of a sudden you're going completely by yourself and just learning the ropes as you go. So I think it was a tough transition for sure. I put a lot of pressure on myself and wanted to do really well. And I think it just kind of caught up to me. And I really struggled with focusing on the cut lines and um, yeah, just overall had a tough season. I played some decent golf, but it just wasn't good enough. And I think that was kind of a wake-up call showing you like how deep and how competitive like even just like Epson Tour level is. But yeah, so it was really easy to lose status. I mean, like I didn't make a cut for the first 10 events and all of a sudden my name dropped down and then all of a sudden I wasn't into the next half of the season. So
Okay.
it was tough, but I think this next year will be really good for me. And I think now having the experience that I've had on the WAPT tour is just, it's going to help me a lot. So
Yeah. I mentioned two questions, but I just thought of one that I wanted to ask. You mentioned that for you, the transition from college golf to professional golf, was very difficult. So can you tell me, why was or, just how difficult the transition is from college golf to professional golf? And, can you tell me about some things professional golf, outside of tournaments or results that are, you have to, navigate when playing professional golf, like, being on the road, traveling, or just the cost of playing professional golf? Can you tell me about some of those things, that you had to
yeah.
navigate playing professional golf?
Yeah, totally. I think one like major thing that I struggled with my first year was just like schedule.
Okay.
It's tricky when you don't know exactly what your status is going to be for the year. And that's kind of all of the girls that are in the qualifying in Florida that are outside of that top 45 are kind of in this limbo where you're checking all of the tournament lists and you're seeing if you're on reserve or if you're in or like what travel accommodations you need to do if you are on the wait list for these events. And for the first few, I was like one or two on the wait list and they were in Florida. And so it was like, do I book a flight and like hope that I'm getting into these, or do I just withdraw from them and then potentially lose that opportunity to play in an Epson event? And also you're not playing in anything else because, WAPT season hadn't started. And so it was tough in the beginning. I think the first one I got into was about a 4 hour drive from where I live. So I got in on a Wednesday and the tournament started on Thursday. And I drove up there, didn't have a practice round, and just basically started the tournament the next day. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like unknowns. There's a lot of last minute booking or last minute driving across, multiple states. I feel like it's also a big difference with host families, from going from college golf where you're staying in a hotel room with people that you know, your teammates, you're with your coaches, you're eating dinners with everyone you know, and you're at the golf course and then you go to professional golf and you have host families that you don't know, that you've never met, that you're staying in their house. And I would say 99% of the time they're awesome people and they're great and it's a positive experience. But it is hard because it's like you're doing it completely by yourself. There's a lot of loneliness, but at the same time, it matures you a lot and I think it grows your independence a lot. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned being a reserve. So let's take, for example, like, let's say my local tournament, in Connecticut. Let's say you're like the number one or number two reserve. Would
Mhm.
you know, you being from California, would you have to fly all the way out to, let's say Connecticut and, go there and they would tell you if you're going to get in the tournament or not, being the number one or number two, reserve, or do they generally, tell you in advance of you, traveling out to the tournament, whether you're going to
It
get in
all,
or not?
yeah. It all just kind of depends on when the reserve spots like open. And so it's like typically if you're one or two on the wait list, a week before, you're gonna get in. And so then
Okay.
I would say absolutely, I would fly from California to Connecticut for that. But if it's like the day before and you check the list and your name is one or two, then I'd say there's a lot less likelihood that you'll get in just because people typically aren't withdrawing the day before a tournament unless there's an LPGA tournament that week that someone has gotten into, or there's every once in a while there's an injury or someone's sick. But it's all really confusing. And sometimes there's Monday qualifiers that are the same week, and two girls that are on the Epson Tour will get into an LPGA through a Monday, and then so they'll have to withdraw from the Epson event that week, and it just shifts everything around. But yeah, it's a wild process. But yeah, I would absolutely fly to Connecticut, which is crazy, in a week's notice if I was one on the wait list. So there's a lot of that.
Do you have any experiences where you've, last minute, driven to a tournament or, pretty far or flown to a
Yeah.
tournament pretty far?
I played in a Monday qualifier in LA. So I drove to LA and I
Okay.
packed everything just in case I was going to get into the next Epson event, which was in St. George, Utah. And I finished my 18 holes of my Monday qualifier and I checked the leaderboard, and the same thing that I just said happened where two girls from the Epson event got in to this LPGA that was at Wilshire. So they both withdrew. So then I was in. So then that night at like 5 p.m., I drove to St. George, Utah, which was like 7.5 hour drive. And then woke up the next morning and had a practice round. So
Yes.
it happens a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. That's what you have to, navigate playing professional golf.
Yep.
So finally, Ellie, what are some goals you have for yourself, in professional golf? And where do you see yourself with professional golf going forward? You played on the Epson Tour in 2023, lost your status. Then this past season, you played on the WAT Tour. So what do you see for yourself? And, what are your goals going forward, with your professional career?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this next season. I think it's going to be a good one. And I'm looking forward to qualifying in Florida. But my overall goals for professional golf are to qualify for the LPGA. I think everyone has that in common out here. We're all trying to get to the top. I would love to have a professional win. That's one of my goals at whatever level it comes. And then I just want to continue to have fun doing what I'm doing and with the girls on the tour and just enjoying where I'm at. And I try and make an effort to go and do something in each place that we're at that isn't golf. I think that's really important to just like make sure you're seeing the places that you're visiting and not just hotel, golf course. So trying to do that and yeah, just play the best golf that I can and try and limit the amount of pressure that I'm putting on myself because I know I play a lot better when there's a stress-free environment.